is being recorded. Have you recorded it? You're recording it. So whether or not
It's
this makes
recording
it
it.
in the final cut of recording, 10,000 agents should be on this freaking call right now. What is going to be dropped in this training, I don't know of a better person to teach leverage through people and systems, create the system, get someone else to run it. Stacie, what was it? 222 transactions with you and a single admin. And then you
Yes.
scaled beyond that and sold your business for a seven-figure valuation, all the cool stuff. But there isn't a better person to teach leverage and systems than Stacie Peterson. All right, I'll mute myself.
Thank you. Well, it is my very favorite thing to train on. And sometimes I forget that training admin or getting leverage or building systems isn't what everyone loves to do. So as when you find something that you really like to do, you kind of minimize it because you're like, well, everybody knows how to do that. But everybody's kind of got their own spin on it. But I really do love creating systems and then delegating it to people so that I have more freedom in my day. Like it's just my motto. It's going to be on my headstone. She delegates everything. And, my parents called it lazy. I call it like smart. I was smart. Exactly. Yeah. I'm like, you guys should have caught on. I could have taught you. So, all right. Let me share here. Got my Zoom too small. There we go. All right. Thumbs up. You can see it. Perfect. All right. So we're going to talk about this training. I haven't done this way. So prepare any questions that you have. I'm happy to go deeper. This is a little bit more of a why you should, what you can do, and how you can do it. But I'm happy to share any specifics. I have a couple documents just to open up and show you. But I've done trainings on VAs a few times. So this one's a little bit different. All right, so what if, whoops, can you guys still see my screen? Okay, good. What if you could actually, hold on a second, sorry. My presentation on my end is messed up. One second. All right, hold on. I swear every time Zoom either, I don't know, maybe they changed their stuff or what, but it's always like, yeah, a guess. You never know what you're going to get. All right, you guys can see my screen though, or my notes screen. Good. Okay. So let's go back to it. What if there were two of you? So oddly enough, we were just talking about bots and cloning. So imagine that there's two of you and one of you are out showing homes or building relationships, doing trainings, closing deals, but the other one is handling every little task that eats up your day. Like sending emails, reading title insurance, communicating with clients, sending documents to the lender, attending trainings on CRMs, organizing paperwork that needs signatures, putting packets together, doing a market analysis, confirming appointments, inviting your clients to a get together, send out newsletters, right? The list goes on and on. And these are the things that's important if you are going to get to the next level in your business. So, what would it be worth to you if you could clone yourself, but you don't have all this overwhelm? Like your to-do lists aren't 8 pages long, right? Well, this isn't a fantasy. It actually happens when you do hire the right assistant. So there's this thing called the invisible ceiling. And this is where most agents stay stuck. They're maybe in that $80,000 or less loop. So they're earning 80,000 a year or less, could be 50. But you are absolutely capped if you don't have help. So if you're plateauing because, or you're not sure and you think maybe it's a lack of skill, it's not. It's actually a lack of time on the right things. So the biggest myth with VAs or assistants, this could go you can interchange them, whatever you call them. But the biggest myth is I need to work harder to earn more. And that's not the case. You actually need to delegate better. So the $300 hour in a tasks that are what make you money in your business are being blocked by the $10 an hour ones. So there's a mindset shift that changes everything. You don't hire a VA because you're ready. You hire one because you're ready to go to grow. So hiring is an investment, it's not an expense. So the shift is don't think, can I afford one? Start asking yourself, what's the cost of doing it all myself? Because if you're burnt out, you're missing deals with communication, you're constantly waking up and thinking of all the things you have to do and neglecting your clients, that is expensive. So let's look at a day in the life. We're going to talk about leverage. Most agents know they need to hire, but they're unsure about what they can hand off to an assistant that would keep them busy all day. Or maybe you've had an assistant in the past and they just weren't busy all the time. So you kind of felt guilty or taken advantage of. But here's a sample of a day in the life of an agent that is overwhelmed and then an agent that is focused. So let's go over the overwhelmed agent first. So they start out their day sifting through 63 emails. Now they have to reschedule some appointments. The next hour is spent posting the new listings on MLS, uploading photos. Then they're following up with their leads, right? It's lead gen time. So they're calling new ones and following up with old ones. Then, oh, got to create a social media post. They're like, crap, what am I going to do? Like, okay, I'll take a picture of this or I'll dance or whatever I need to do. Then, if they get to sit at their desk, they're eating lunch really fast, right? Like woofing it down, answering inspection questions, then reviewing paperwork, filling out documents. Then, oh my gosh, I've got those showings. So prepping for that, printing buyer packets. They're late for their showing because the printer jammed, or let's be honest, they left like the time they were supposed to meet someone. Still uploading files into Dotloop at night or Skyslope, chasing signatures, maybe writing some thank yous or putting up open house signs. And then it's 9 o'clock and they're like, oh crap, I forgot that one thing, right? That's a pretty probably normal day in the life of an agent. Now, when you have someone that's helping you can do the things that matter most. So the VA can clear the inbox, confirm your showings, input the listings, schedule the photographer, create the flyers. By 10 a.m., they're sending follow-ups, booking calls for you, designing and posting your branded reels that you already approved, answer inspection questions using your SOP cheat sheet, fill out paperwork to get ready for your signatures, email buyer packets, map that route for you, send reminders, get everything docu-signed. They can mail those thank yous and pre-schedule all the open house promotion. And what you're doing then by dinner time is having dinner with your family. And you're not thinking, oh my gosh, what did I forget during the day? So, how does that sound? Does agent one sound awesome, being overwhelmed, or agent two, being duplicated and focused? Yes, number two, peace, right? It's the reason it's a peace sign. So, a lot of times, some people worry about what could they take over immediately. Okay. I'm already overwhelmed. I don't have 10 hours a day to sit here with an assistant or get online. Like, what do I do? So here's some tasks that you could take over immediately, okay, with very minimal amounts of training. Let's start with marketing and lead gen because there's three buckets, right, to our business: marketing and lead gen, client experience communication, and then other types of support. So with marketing and lead gen, they could post, schedule your social media content, create listing flyers, graphics, videos, manage your CRM and tagging leads, because we know as agents, we're not great at that. I was terrible in my own CRM, but could write a system for everybody else to follow except myself, right? So admin are great at managing that CRM, sending email newsletters or database updates, research for sale by owners and expireds for outreach, Next, with client experience and communication, we talked about like schedule some showings, inspections, closings, do all the confirmations, feedback requests, following up with open house leads, manage any post closing follow up, prepping those buyer and seller welcome packets and checklists. And they don't have to be print either, right? Maybe it's videos, but they have to get sent out. Maybe it's emails, whatever type you're using, an admin can take over that. And then, of course, putting stuff into the MLS, put them on your MLS trainings, organize and upload documents to SkySlope, prepare contracts. We always had our paperwork pre filled out, ready to go. Inbox management, which it makes it super easy with Fixer. So if you're an agent at EXP, you get Fixer for free if you're capping or icon. Also managing birthday, home anniversary, and holiday card mailings. So you could have your agents, or excuse me, your admin message people in Facebook for their birthdays. You could already have, like, have you guys ever gotten there's an agent that sends me a birthday video every single year, and it's generic, but I still appreciate it. I doubt he's in there press and send to the video, and he donates like something for some, like I get a star in the sky or something. I don't even remember what it was. But anyway, all that could be leverage and automation. So we're going to talk about a few ways that you can determine the tasks that are right for you. And I'm going to give you a super easy one. Now, the probably the best way to do it would be to do a time study, which Lars has talked about many, many times, where you're writing everything down that you're doing for, a week, 2 weeks, but sometimes you just need to know like right now. So what you can do is go through your calendar, and if you keep like a paper planner, like your to-do list, and green light, so green highlighter, anything you'd like to do. Yellow and pink highlight what you don't. Yellow would be what you don't like doing, and pink highlighter would be things you know you need to stop doing. Organize that into buckets. Really easy because you can see the colors and then organize them into what's marketing, client experience, etc. And right there, you will have a list for an admin to do that you can even put in an ad, right? So this is what I'm looking for, someone to handle this stuff. Another easy way would be screenshot this slide and pick three. What are the three that drain your energy the most? And then put that into a document. Another easy way is start recording everything you're doing. So if you're on your computer, use Loom or Zoom and talk through your process. So the next time you put a listing on MLS, record it, because now you start to have this training library for an admin. It's called the camcorder method. If you've ever read Dan Martell's book, Buy Back Your Time, he calls it the camcorder method. Now you've got this bucket of trainings already, and you didn't have to take any extra time to do it. So the real ROI of hiring a VA, I want to tell you a quick story. How I turned a $500 a month hire into $450,000 in revenue. So here's the deal. My very first admin was actually not a VA. She was in person. I could only afford to have her like a few hours a day. And so what happened was the first week she came in, she took over all my listing prep, ordering photos, creating flyers, scheduling showings, confirming feedback, answering agent questions. She was not a realtor before. She was not an admin for a realtor before. So all of this was brand new. But suddenly, I wasn't buried in all that work anymore. I wasn't chasing appointments. I was following up with leads and nurturing my pipeline. And she was taking the other things off my plate, managed my client experience, kept that ball rolling. So that freed me up to follow up faster, close more clients. That was the most profitable decision of my career, because not only did I get more things done, I got the right things done. So hiring her didn't just buy back my time, it bought me momentum. And so Year before I hired her, I was selling 25 homes myself. Okay. The year I hired her, I sold 45 and started a team. So that's the power of having someone help you duplicating your efforts. So, some excuses that we can come up with that are costing you growth are I'm not ready. Well, you will never be ready until you make that leap, right? It's just like anything. There's never a perfect time to change brokerages, hire a VA, sometimes list a house, right? You're already so busy. But when you do it, that's when you become ready because you know you have to get it done. Maybe an excuse for you is I don't have the budget. Well, your VA could be self liquidating in 30 days or less. Exactly the scenario that I gave you. I sold almost 100% more homes by having someone helping me. Maybe you tell yourself you tried it before, but it didn't work. Then maybe you didn't have the right system. So we've given you some examples of what they can do, and we'll talk a little bit more about the system. Maybe you're telling yourself that you don't have time to train them. We talked about that, just videoing what you're doing, right? The only thing riskier than hiring a VA is waiting too long to do it, right? Because once you probably pull the trigger, you've got a million things that you've been putting off or on your plate. So, if maybe one of your issues with hiring someone is, what if I don't know how to train them, right? You're maybe thinking that you're not great at managing people. Maybe you've done it before, it's failed. And there's many reasons that can happen. Maybe they weren't the right hire for you. Maybe you were trying to control too many things and have everything put together before handing it off to them. Maybe you didn't have a lot of stuff documented and your stuff was everywhere. And so it was hard to organize all of it. That's why the secret is these Loom videos and checklists and checking in with them every day. Then you're not micromanaging them or overwhelmed at that thought. It's just small buckets every single day. You don't have to have a huge operations manual. You just have to start. With each time you're delegating, you're buying back that energy and your profit. So, the easiest way to onboard, decide their first three tasks. We talked about the red, yellow, green, yellow, red light system. We've talked about doing videos, creating a shared checklist on something simple as Google Docs or Trello or Notion or whatever you like to do. Airtable's another great one. That's one of my favorites. Scheduling that daily sync and then reviewing weekly and then expanding. Sometimes we give them 50 things to do. We're like, hey, work on my listing system, work on my buyer system, communicate with my client. Oh, yeah, I got a closing. Just like you can't be trained that way, that's a fire hose method, you have to organize them into buckets to give it to them in bite-sized pieces. So if you're starting today, make that list. Pick your top 3 time sucks, committing to producing a video a day, and then post your job. There's a lot of different networks where you can do that if you're looking to hire a VA, but it depends on how much involvement you want in the process. So if you want someone that somebody else basically manages and is trained, you still have to do the training and show them your process, but they're already maybe real estate trained. My Outdesk, Sphere Rocket, Riva, I think is one that you use, Lars. REVA, that's another one. But if you're willing to do more of the training, onlinejobs.ph, that's basically a job hiring site over in the Philippines, but you're going to do like the training, the interviewing, you're going to vet if they're good, you're going to check references, like that's more work definitely. Upwork, Fiverr, of course, We Clone You, I've used multiple times. So these are some different ones. I'm sure there's a million more out there, but real estate specific, some of these 3 are not, right? Fiverr, Upwork, online jobs. Even We Clone You has a lot that are not real estate specific. You also have to determine if you're going to hire someone full-time or part-time. That may determine which one of these you use. Spear Rocket kind of does things a little bit different. You sort of hire them per task and they're specialized in that task or bulk of tasks. So you may have more than one working for you in the bulk of hours that you've purchased. I've not personally used them. I've only personally used We've Clone You, Online Jobs. And then, like I said, Lars has used that Riva. And did you put it in the chat, Lars? Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Another question that I get a lot is how do I pay them? Like, how do I know what to pay them? How do I pay them? And then how do I know they're working on my stuff if they're not sitting by me? So, pay depending on how you hire them. So, a lot of them now will just put what their rate is, or the company that you're using will tell you how much the rate is. So, you don't have to worry about it too much, but it could go anywhere from $5 an hour to $15 an hour, depending on the company, the training, who you're using. So just be cognizant of what that hourly rate is and how much you're having to do for that rate in terms of training and things like that. How to pay them? I've used Payoneer or PayPal. There's lots of different pay programs out there that easily do it. And how do I know that they're working on my stuff? One thing that I love to use is called Time Proof. And Time Proof goes in and automatically screenshots their screens, even if they're using multiple screens. You can set it at 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half hour, whatever. So it sends me that. It also tells me exactly when they're on the job. It also tells me if they haven't moved their mouse. So if it's like on this screen for 45 minutes, but no mouse is moving, then probably not working. So it's nice to see. And I suggest, even though you trust the person, to at least start this way, because also what you learn about yourself as a trainer is, are you hopping back and forth to too many things? So day one, they're learning this. Day two, they're learning this. Three, and it's not even the same system. And then you're wondering, why can't they do anything? Or why am I doing more work? Well, it's probably the training system that you're using. Another question that I get asked a lot is, how do I keep track of what they're doing? I get the screenshot thing, but their activities. Timeproof has, you could build out projects in there if you want to. Some easy ways to do it also are like a Notion page, Airtable, Trello. Those three are all the same ish. They just look different. Airtable is more of a dynamic spreadsheet. You can, of course, just use Google Docs, right? Just something where both of you, when you're making changes, everybody can see. And then, of course, you've got your videos. So you've got your training library. So I'm going to show you a couple things that I've used for training just to kind of make it easier. I'll show you those. And then if you guys have any questions, we will get to that. Okay, so a couple of things I've done before in some trainings that I've done is put together a document on agent versus admin things to do. This actually came from a coaching client. So we were going through their time study, all the things they were doing, and then we've added to it with other coaching clients. So the funny thing here is this is everything, not even everything, but most things that a realtor does pretty regularly. So it was interesting to put this document together and go, whoa. So if you're ever doubting yourself on what you should be paid, or if you're worth what you're paid, like put this up in your mirror and read it and go, wow, okay, makes sense. No wonder, right? Another thing that I've used, of course, is like a VA contract. So what I do when I create my contract is I put a lot of stuff in there. I want them to know there's a lot of expectations, and that way we can agree upon it together. Also, just like a 30, 60, 90 document so I can keep myself on track. Another thing, this actually came from, Lars will recognize this, but this folder came from when we originally started coaching with Real Estate B School. But it was the best thing because we had everything broken out into different systems. So then when I had a virtual assistant or an assistant near me, there were many things that I could point them to, right? And so this comes from over time as you're creating documents, like just keeping organized, which again wasn't, I did not start this. This Laura started these folders. And so it was so helpful. But if I needed help from my admin with lead generation, and I don't have all my documents in here anymore because they were from my team before, but everything could be in here. So we could talk about it, go through it. Like, what do we want in a packet? These documents, like everything is easily accessed and in order so you can help give it to them so they can then take it over. And you can see we have, lots of other folders and packets in here. Another thing, just to give you an idea, is when you are going through your own system, you may realize that your system doesn't make sense. Like you understand it, but when you go to explain it to someone, you're like, oh crap, I forgot this part. I guess I don't even have it written down. So I like the I do, we do, you do training system where they are watching you do it. And again, could be over video because you've already recorded it. Then you work through it together, let them ask questions, you realize what's missing, what's not, and then you give it to them to take it. But I get pretty detailed when I'm in my systems, and so it's all written out, like what happens, what's the next step, who does it, like who needs to be doing what. So everything gets written out. Now, again, if you shoot the video, you can have your admin compile this sort of SOP document because then they've watched the training and they're learning it. And then they're trying to understand your own language, right? Like they're not going to know what appointment book seller action plan is. They're not going to know what the seller appointment calendar is. So it gives you a chance to also explain those things easily. This also was from our team, just a small lead management process that we got from our coach, which was Lars. File handoff. I mean, everything sort of had these documents. And again, it doesn't have to be in print. It can all be part of the file. SkySlope makes this a lot more easy. But if you're maybe starting with some of these checklists that you have, it's just an easy way to get going. So now that you're like ready to go hire a VA, any questions? Oh, Gusto, yes, Jamie. I knew there was another one too that a lot of people used. Yes, Riva Global. How many of you have admins or VAs right now? Excuse me. One, two, three. Got it. Oh, yeah, Wise too. Yes. Yeah, so lots of different platforms you can use that make it super easy. Good. Any questions or maybe anything you want to add? You do different with your admin that works well. Um, Anything you want to share?
One of your points was, I tried it and it didn't work. So looking back, I have a visionary sort of spirit where I don't get too caught up on the speed bumps and the pitfalls along the way. But I would imagine for every good VA that stayed over a year, we probably had 3 hires.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like if you're building a team with real estate agents, if you hire 3 or 4 and one stays 12 months or more, that's probably, unfortunately, the right hit rate. It's kind of the same thing with VAs. And um, so just I would have that mindset. And then you're going to get better every time you bring someone on too, and your systems are going to be tighter. And but then the
Yeah.
second thought was, this is not going to sound great, but I did not treat our VAs the same way as I treated an admin in the office when I was
Mm,
starting. So it was almost like they're a VA, like they're just going to do it. It's going to be fine. They know what to do. But even more so, like it's daily meetings multiple times per day. Like they're a full teammate as if they were sitting next to you in the office. So I
yeah.
spent years
Good point.
thinking they were just like not lesser than, but it's like, well, you're only getting $4 an hour, like what
Yeah.
should I expect from you? But in their market, And We Clone You can find VAs all day long at 375. So in their market to be able to work out of their home, they're getting paid more than they did to work in a hotel or a hospital or, so, you're
Yes.
doing, I mean, the fact that it's a geo arbitrage thing there's issues with that, that they know this, because they might sit on trainings where you're talking about the geo arbitrage. So we've had that issue come up as well. It's like, how come I can't get paid, 12 bucks an hour? This is not US minimum wage but anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, so just having that mindset of they're a legit full-time person, get to know them personally, what makes them tick, what challenges they're having personally, and I think they'll stay for a long time.
Yes. Great points. Eric, did you have something?
I did. I had a question. Would you
Yeah.
recommend a single VA to handle both, say, a production business and a more attraction business together, or would you do two separate ones?
Um, At first, I would have one because it's too hard to sort of bring two on and then they have these separate focus. And some of the things are going to cross over, right? So agents that you do deals with, they could give you a list like, hey, don't forget, call these people. So I would just have one. And then as things got too busy, then you could have another one, but you're still going to have crossover because let's say they're helping with just attraction, they're going to help with marketing, so marketing's going to cross over anyway. So I would suggest just one and then when that one is too busy, when it's time to hire a second one, you can determine like what's best.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Great question. Great question.
Has anybody been using VAs for video editing, any social media stuff? I guess that's one area I've heard either myths or non-myths. I don't know. Like, well, you send the video overseas and like the quality goes down and it's harder than just admin tasks. I don't know. You guys doing any of that?
I did have one that was, I don't have him anymore, but he was doing my video editing and I didn't have any problem with it. So we were using like Big View and then he would just log into it. So I didn't have to like download, he has to upload, like we would just do it that way. So it was pretty easy. And I know Lars currently is using a guy that does all of his video editing. So you can chime in, Lars.
Yeah, so what was the concern is like video quality kind of going over the interwebs?
Yeah, somebody said like you lose quality, uh, and it's just like it's a
I
little
don't,
more
I
of like
mean,
a
I haven't seen it. I mean, because if the person's in the same neighborhood on a different IP, it doesn't matter as far as I know tech, it doesn't matter if they're here or 4,000 miles. Like if they were in California, it doesn't matter if they're in Mexico or Brazil or it's the
there's
same,
something.
they just have to make sure they're downloading the best version.
Right.
And I mean, all we're doing, I use StreamYard, so whatever they're downloading the version of StreamYard that's like the highest quality version or whatever. So it's the same file. And then they're uploading it to YouTube. They're not sending it back for me to upload to YouTube
Yeah. And
or
they'll use a
on whatever
VPN
platform.
too.
Yeah, I don't know if I have my guy using a VPN. I don't think I do.
You
Um,
want them to if they're going to upload to your social, because I had my Instagram actually taken away because there was a different IP accessing it constantly. And so
yeah,
you want them just on a free VPN works
yeah.
when they're doing that.
Okay.
Todd, you also had a VA that was doing your content. Um, any thoughts?
Yeah, I wish I still had her.
She was
That
great.
is a classic example where you do need to raise their pay in some circumstances because she was that good. And she went on to work for somebody out of Scotland. Um, and she was from South Africa. So her primary language was, or her first language was English. And so she did she did an excellent job. Unbelievable. Yep. So she used content from like Batmax, or she even made up quite a bit up herself too.
Yeah. But for as much content as you put out, Chris, you just start kind of videoing how you're editing things. And I know Jonathan Alexander, he did a training for us like a year ago on this call, or maybe it was a little bit longer, on YouTube. And at first, he went through a couple of VAs because they just didn't quite edit. How he has a very specific marketing eye. He's really good. And so finally he found one, but he said he realized he just had to like shoot more trainings on how he did it versus what he thought he would have to do. But no problem with uploads or anything.
Yeah. Okay. And yeah, our VA, she's been with us over a year, so I guess that's a good sign. And you're right, I think we went through two before that didn't work out. Um, and this is not through a company. The two that didn't work out were through a company. No knock on the company, but it just they weren't the right fit. Um, and I guess we're currently at 750 an hour. That's high, right?
It really depends on like the company, and I don't think it's high. It just depends.
Yeah, I
This
mean
is
our
direct to her.
yeah, I mean it's not high if it's great quality, and you could hire
Mhm.
some stateside that would want 30, 40, $50 an hour.
Mhm.
So a good video editor that can do some social media, they can demand as high as, even in a country that's a low cost country, like $15 per hour.
Mhm.
Right.
Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're gonna probably have to go through a few the first year. And I've never hired a VA. So you guys talk about having to go through them to find a good one. What are some of the red flags that I should be looking for versus what's just a growing pain?
One thing that I look for immediately is when I'm looking at their resume, I want to see like job history length of time. So if they kind of have like 6 positions in the last 2 years, I'm kind of scratching my head a little bit, going, is that them? Could be not the right fit. So, but that's kind of my initial like scan through. Another thing is be careful with the verbiage that you use. So if you put out there, I'm looking for a marketing person, all of a sudden, like the cost goes way up. And what is marketing to you, what you're thinking versus what they're thinking? You're thinking, let's say, they're going to come up with content ideas. They're going to give me the script. They're going to tell me where to sit. They're going to edit those videos. And they're thinking, I'm posting it only on social media, like I'm scheduling it. So you just have to be careful. And that's where, like I said, sometimes my job descriptions are like 4 pages. This sounds bad. I kind of want to scare them a little bit because it is a lot of work. There's a lot of things in these small businesses that we have. So um, just make sure you're using the right verbiage. Also, if you're using a specific CRM, right? Bold Trail, Go High Level, whatever, make sure also you're understanding, do you know it enough to train someone? Or do you know it enough to be a good concierge and tell them where to go for exact training? Like you can't expect them to understand what you want out of something if you can't train it or you don't know exactly what to send them. They can research some, but again, that's where it seems like things go sideways, where you're like, hey, go watch all these videos on Bold Trail. And they're like, okay, but they don't even know what you wanted out of it, right? You're like, I wanted the tagging system. I wanted you to know how to run Facebook ads. Okay, talk about that up front. So those are just some flags like they might put on their resume Canva. And you're like, oh, and in your head, you're like, sweet. They know how to create everything in custom colors and they're like, no, I literally used it to make my resume, so I know how to log in, you know? So you just gotta ask really good questions and keep asking and keep asking.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Janie was going to say something.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Janie.
I didn't even know what I was gonna, oh, I think I was just saying that we pay our VA $7 an hour and she's out of El Salvador. She's been with us more than a year and she's amazing. So,
The one thing that we ran into, and I can't remember if it was with we had a couple instances where VAs were working multiple accounts and you couldn't really tell like if they were working the hours that you wanted them to and they were kind of distracted doing other things. So just be clear with them that this is a position, if it's part-time, I need you from 9 a.m. Eastern to 1 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. And that's when you're dedicated to my work. And then there's the opportunity to go full-time from there, or just be very specific that they have to be focused on your work as if they were physically sitting in your office. That was one thing. And then, yeah, to Stacie's point, Stacie's infinitely better at this than I am, but people don't really know anything. Like they don't know exactly what you want. You don't actually want them coming up with the content, the scripts, like that's the part you manage, but they're an admin. An admin can do marketing admin, they can do closing admin, they can do listing admin, they can do, so I think we like to say we're hiring a director of operations. And they're like, director of operations, this is a six-figure opportunity. It's like, no, I literally need you to click buttons according to my task list. So it's just an admin or a coordinator, and just don't attach like a marketing manager or marketing director. Like don't get too fancy with it. Just say it's a coordinator. It's an administrative coordinator, and you can teach them everything. My guy now, who's really good, he had zero experience when he started with me, and he started at $3.75 per hour, and now he's at $8 per hour. And I suspect with his skill set, I could lose him any day. So I could pay him 10, 12, 15 bucks an hour and still be okay. And he's only working part-time for me at this point. And he posts everything on social media, does all of my editing, and that's about half time. And he manages like the school uploads and that sort of stuff. And that's like, I don't even think it's 20 hours a week. So Eric, to your point, you probably can bring one person on as a coordinator. Like they're just a marketing and administrative coordinator, and they're going to manage both sides of the business and just clearly articulate what you need done on both of those sides.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys for coming, and hopefully you got some good ideas or some good things to go back to your admin with. So if you have any questions, you can hit me up. Otherwise, we will see you next time on our next training. Take
Awesome
care.
training. See you guys.
Stacie,
Thanks.
see you guys.
Bye.